Alright, it's R2D2 electronics time. What I have here is my Arduino Mega 2560 ADK. The ADK, I believe this developer kit. The difference between this and just a Mega 2560 is that this has a USB port on it. This is the one to program the board, and this is an external USB port. If you don't get the ADK, if you just get a regular Arduino Mega 2560, you have to buy what's called a USB host shield, which plugs on top of the unit that has a USB port. A lot of people are having problems with those host shields. The USB ports aren't working properly, and there's a user on the Michael Badley forum that has figured out why. There's a hardware change that it appears has been made on those boards, so a lot of them that are being sold aren't providing enough voltage to the USB plug. You can find that information on the Michael Badley Facebook page, and Jason Charlton has also posted it on the astromech.net forums. It's a small surface mount chip that you actually have to remove and replace with a different one to fix the USB host shields. I didn't want to mess with that, and that fix was found after I ordered this, but this one already has the USB port on it, so it saves me buying two different boards, so I can just use one. So to program it, you need a USB-A to USB-B cable. This is typically like you'd find on a printer or something. It's just the square USB connector. Here's the one that came with my board, this type of USB-B connector. This one was obviously very short, so I just found an old printer cable that I had so I could put this on the table and plug it into my PC. And then I've got my Bluetooth dongle plugged into the board here. The Bluetooth dongle that I'm using is this one, TP-Link Bluetooth 4 UB400. I found this somewhere on a forum somewhere that people were saying that this one worked, and so it's the one that I got. You will also need, if you have controllers, PlayStation controllers that need their batteries charged, or you're unsure of like I was, a cable to plug them into a PC to charge. This is a USB-A to USB mini connector. PlayStation controller there, USB mini. I have read online some people saying micro, so I don't know if there are different versions of these PlayStation controllers that used micro as opposed to mini, but this is a USB mini connector here. There's lots of information out there and misinformation about how to charge these things. I am no expert, but what worked for me, and I believe should work, is connecting these with an actual USB-A to mini connector that's capable of passing data. Some of these cables, charge cables, they only wire up the 5-volt and ground pins and not the data pins. And these controllers need to have that data connection in order to charge. So I just, like I said, I just have this cable that came off of an old keyboard that I use for plugging things into USB mini, and I plugged these controllers into my PC. They've been sitting for months in a box and sitting for probably longer than that from the guy that I bought them from on the astromech.net forums, and the red light started slowly flashing, indicating that they were charging. This was good news because they were sold, and I bought them understanding that, you know, he didn't know what the status of the batteries were, but they were probably toast because they'd been sitting for a while. But it actually did eventually charge. It took a while to get enough charge for these to work, so part of my messing around was trying to plug these things in, then 20 minutes later unplug them and trying to get them to connect, because they didn't seem to want to connect when they were plugged in and charging, but I don't know if that's because the batteries were low. So that was kind of an issue, is not knowing the charge state of these and trying to connect them when they weren't charged enough to be able to actually make a connection. So that's something to be aware of when you get these, is try and charge the batteries for a while before you do this process to save yourself that hassle. Whether you have to buy new batteries specifically made for these or do the mod that is on the Astromech page that I will put a link to, that tells you how you can, and do this at your own risk, remove the battery from the device. Take the battery management unit here, this little circuit board, plugs into the controller, and it controls the charging of this battery so the battery doesn't get overcharged. And then you can convert to a much larger battery. With the guy in this thread said that it lasted all day when he converted to this one. So you have to basically take that battery management unit, solder it to a new battery, which is kind of risky, so solder or however you want to make those contacts. Obviously this battery is longer, so you had to use wire extensions to get it around the end. So do this, again, at your own risk, but there is a thread showing how you can do that. He said that the case is a little bit bowed out because the battery is a little bit too big for the case, but it still screws together fine, and it's not too... it's not like it's going to bust at the seams. So again, I'll put a link to this thread. Just trying to find the guy's name here. Tico Powell on Astromech forums for modifying these controllers to get longer life and replace the old batteries. So hopefully you've got a pair of controllers, and hopefully they can hold a charge, and then you need either the 2560-80K to plug your dongle into, or you need the 2560 with the USB host shield that has the hardware fixed to make sure it works with a dongle, or an older shield before they made whatever change that now they don't appear to be working. So hopefully once you've got your hardware set up, this is what I did. And again, I'll put a link to this in the forum. This page here is the Shadow MD Droid Control System wiki page on astromech.net. This goes into all kinds of information on what you need, what the system kind of does, and it even has the files you need for the sketch to program the Arduino, and the libraries that are required for the sketch to compile properly. And best yet, builder Adelon created a great video detailing how to install the sketch and connect the PS3 controllers. It's available here. I'll post that in the description as well. So his video is over 17 minutes long, so I won't go through it here, but it basically walks you through setting up the Arduino programming interface and when to plug and unplug your dongle, when to plug your controllers in. It walks you through pretty much everything. So over here, I've got the Shadow MD control sketch here, and I loaded my libraries and I programmed my Arduino, and the first time it had a timeout. It didn't work. So I was thinking, oh boy, here we go. We're going to have some issues here. But all I did was I hit the reset button on the Arduino board, and then I clicked the upload again, and it uploaded the firmware to the board. And I was able to follow the instructions and get the MAC addresses of my two controllers, and I just pasted them into a text document. And I went through the procedure to connect them, and like I said, the batteries of my controllers are pretty toast, but I was eventually able to get them to charge by plugging the USB cable into my PC. Then I had a slowly blinking red light on the controller, and after about a half an hour, every 10-20 minutes, being impatient, I would unplug the cable, I'd push the power button and it wouldn't power on. I tried pushing the power button while it was connected to the computer and charging, and it wouldn't turn on. Eventually, I was able to disconnect it from the computer, push the button, and it turned on and blinked, trying to connect via Bluetooth to a device. So I was able to get the MAC address that I pasted into a window for both controllers. And I was following the instructions in the video, and when it got to the point of connecting the controllers and verifying that they worked after I got the MAC address, you put the MAC address in your sketch, which, here's the sketch, and up here, hopefully this doesn't mean somebody's going to hijack my R2D2, but there's MAC addresses for my two controllers. And then you open up the serial window from the Arduino tool, and you can see what your Arduino is doing as it's trying to connect to things. And I was getting errors. Which is it gonna... Yeah, this is only showing the successful connections here. It was telling me that it was an invalid device connecting. And I remembered something I read in the wiki about MAC addresses that have a 0 in the end of them. So here's the MAC address. It has several pairs. The last pair here starts with a 0. So when I was trying to connect this, it wasn't connecting as 0A. It was just connecting as A. So here is, let's see, user Wallix in 2019 posted this, and I don't know why this hasn't been put in the sketch that's in the wiki, but he has found that without this addition to the sketch, these few lines, if you have a MAC address with a 0 in it, like this, 0x08 for instance, or mine 0a, it will never be paired because the stock sketch doesn't account for that. So what I had to do is copy this line here, which he shows in his photo of the actual code. And then I had to go over here into the Arduino environment, do an edit, find, and then I looked for the text, BD address, bad address. I found the text. For bad address, and basically I added this, copied from the Astromech page and pasted it in here, and then resaved the file. I think I resaved it. I'll do it again now. Save. And then I clicked the upload button, and it compiled the sketch, it uploaded it, and then up here I think I showed Connection request. It's successfully connected to the foot PS3 and the dome PS3 connector, and then I started pressing buttons and moving things, and you can see it's sending commands to the Arduino. So I wanted to show that. Start with, when you're doing this, I recommend starting with the astromech.net ShadowMD wiki page. Then it specifically says to use 1.6.4 version of the Arduino IDE. And to get there, you have to go to the old versions, which I noticed his video is a little bit different than the way the website looks now. So this is the software tab, downloads, this being the newest version, and then it shows legacy 1.8, 1.0, 1.5, where's 1.6.4, where's the link to previous versions. It's a little bit confusing, it took me a while to realize. Download options, click on previous release 1.8.18, and that opens a page with 1.8.18, and you scroll down and now you get all of the older versions. So in his video he says 1.6.4, there's 1.6.4. Windows, the one he uses is just the Windows folder, not the installer. You don't need to install it in Windows, so he recommends just downloading this one, extracting the zip file, and then putting it in your Documents folder. And then to run it, you just go into your Documents folder, into the Arduino folder, and then find the Arduino EXE and run that to open the actual program. So that took me a little while to figure out, and then as I said, this code update, I don't know why that's not been put in the sketch, because I sure enough encountered it. So this was 2019 and it's still not in the sketch on the wiki page, but it is what it is. At least I remembered seeing it in the wiki and then found this thread. There's a link to this thread in the wiki actually. I don't think I need to post this. In fact, I know there is, because that's how I got to it. Please note, there it is. Please note there's a bug in this version if you have a controller with a 0 in the last section of the MAC address, for example 08. It won't work. Here's the forum post with a simple fix. So there's your fix. If your controllers are coming up invalid and you look at your MAC address and it ends with 0 something, 0 anything. Again, mine was 0A at the end of it, and it was coming up invalid. And I knew it was a little bit fishy because when it was up here on the serial monitor, when it first tried to connect, it said 0A, but then further down when it said it was invalid, it just said A. And MAC address have to be pairs. And so when it just said A at the end, I knew that it was not right. So that was a clue that that was going on. So that's pretty much it. Look at the wiki page, follow the video, find the older version of the software, the Arduino programming software, because that's the one that it worked for me, it worked for him in the video. If your MAC address ends with 0 something, you'll have to put in that fix manually, which is not a big deal. And then you've got this webpage on replacing the battery with an even bigger, longer lasting one, or you can, I'm pretty sure you can still buy replacement batteries for this thing if you just want to buy the regular stock battery. So one last thing I think I will probably do is pick up an actual Sony battery charger for these. Several people said that's the best thing to do. And they hold two of these things, the official Sony ones. I guess some others are keyed, so they might only allow one of these to connect, because I think these came as a set. One of these and one of the ones with the ball on top, I think. So I guess the official Sony ones will let you plug two of these in at the same time and charge them, and that way you don't have to have a PC on to plug them in, or a PlayStation, which I don't have. So that's it. I'm really happy that that was so easy. I mean, yes, I had some problems, but they were easily overcome, and I now have my PlayStation controllers and my Bluetooth dongle, and they're all connected and ready to go. So when I wire this up, I don't have to worry about that because it's all set.